Hi everyone, welcome to Art and Talk. If you're new to us, Art and Talk is all about meeting artists and being inspired. We embrace all the arts, the traditional arts and the spiritual arts, to bring you diverse and quality interviews to watch and to be inspired by. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk, and today our guest is a New York City, Queens landscape photographer. So we'll be diving into her photography and her journey in photography and finding out what that is all about. So thanks again for watching today. And I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Kimberly Roma. Kimberly, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. Welcome to Art and Talk. So tell us about your photography. And now it has a different twist. I want you to explain it. So we're not really thinking New York City urban so much.
No.
Okay, what kind of territory are we going into that you like to dive into in your photography?
Well, I live in Queens, but I live in a small town that most people haven't heard of. I live in Douglaston. Mostly people know Bayside and Flushing, which is very close by. But where I'm located, it's very close to Long Island. So I live in a neighborhood that is suburban, and I live very close to the Little Neck Bay. So there's lots of beautiful landscape and trees and water nearby. So when I started taking photographs, I was very lucky that I could just walk around my neighborhood and take beautiful photos of what I saw.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm. So it sounds very scenic. It sounds really beautiful.
it is very beautiful. I'm very lucky to live in this neighborhood.
Yeah. So tell us about like how did the whole photography thing start?
Well, it's been something that I've been interested in since I was in high school, and I did take classes in high school, and I took a class in college and undergrad, but I didn't pursue it as a career until this past year. I got my undergrad in English and I got my master's in library science. So it was always a hobby of mine, but over the past year, because of the pandemic, I was furloughed from my job. So I was just stuck at home and I had my camera and I just decided to do some projects and, as I said, walk around my neighborhood. And it just struck me that this is something that I've always loved, I've always been interested in, and people in my life have always been very supportive of it and pushed me to take the leap. So I decided to launch my website and make more of a photography Instagram for my professional photos instead of just friends and family.
Mhm.
And I opened an Etsy shop. So I'm just taking a leap of faith pretty much.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you're really getting all your ducks in a row, so to speak. So it sounds like you had an interest in photography, as you were saying. You took a class in high school and you pursued photography, but as you said, it was a hobby, and then your schooling and education was in other fields. And so it doesn't sound like there was a defining moment. It sounds like it was really birthed out of the pandemic due to the situation that you were in, and you had your camera and you had your beautiful surroundings. So there was Kimberly walking around taking photographs.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I decided it was the best time. I had nothing really going on. So I was able to make the time for myself to explore different areas in photography and have the time to actually get a website up and running, because it takes a lot more work than I thought it would, but it's definitely worth it.
Hmm. Yeah. So tell us, you focus on landscape. Now, of course, you're in this, scenic, beautiful surrounding. Um, so what attracts you to landscape as opposed to people, or perhaps, maybe something like, family, maternity? Tell us what it is that, your eye picks up on, that you hold the camera, that you're like, yeah, that's what I'm going to photograph.
Well, it is funny because I do love the scenic and I love the beauty of things that I see in the world around me, especially by the water where any photo comes out fantastic. But I also really enjoy finding things in nature that people would look at and might think that it's ugly or gross or morbid, and trying to capture a different perspective of it so that when people see my photos, they might say, oh, that's actually really beautiful or interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, I don't know, the photos that I would like to share will make more sense after saying that. Because
Right.
it's not only just beautiful landscapes and sunsets. It's
Mm-hmm.
a little different than that.
Mhm. So that's really interesting. So you're really expanding the definition of beauty. So you have the beauty of nature, but you're looking at things that maybe society might feel are not so attractive or not maybe photo worthy, but yet you're saying yes, and you want to bring that to the table.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. All right. Well, I think this is a good point where we can take a look at some of your photography and have you elaborate on that.
Okay, great.
All right, wonderful. Okay, let me go ahead and pull it up. Give me just a moment and we'll take a look. Okay.
Yes. So this is an area that's in my hometown. It's in Douglaston, and one of the main streets in the town is Northern Boulevard, and it's a very busy area. But on the side, there's trails, and you can go inside, and it's basically a forest. There's lots of trees. And as teenagers, my friends and I used to hang out in there. And there's a hill that goes down, and it's a little treacherous to get down. And when I went to take photos this day, I was surprised that we used to go down it as often as we did, and nobody really killed themselves. But once you go down, there's a wall there, and as you can see, people go down there and write graffiti, and there's a sewer tunnel, and I just found it to be interesting. I also love when places are covered in ivy like that. I find it to be really pretty. So, and it was fun for me to go back to where I hung out as a young kid with all my friends and see it from a different perspective.
Hmm. And tell us, Kimberly, what exactly is a different perspective? This was a place that you hung out growing up, and now you're approaching it as a professional photographer. So what is the difference that you're kind of tapping into? How are you seeing it from a different perspective? If you could share that with us.
Well, I now see it as, I mean, on the other angle of this picture, if you were to turn around, it is still woods, and it's a beautiful spot. And I think that as a kid, we didn't really appreciate that or take advantage of it. We would just go down there and hang out and play loud music and drink beers. And we didn't really look around to see what was beautiful about the area.
Mhm. So do you feel, Kimberly, that the camera really helps you kind of tap in to the environment in a different way than even being the age that you're at? If you weren't a photographer, do you think that the camera just kind of serves you in that way?
I do, because I also like to try to stand at different angles, or I like to crouch down a lot and take my camera and see how things look from that angle instead of just looking at things head on.
Mm-hmm.
So it does help me see things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share about this before we look at the next one?
No, we can move on.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay.
Okay. This was a lot of fun for me. As I said, I live very close to water. So over the winter, I'm pretty sure that it was a very cold day, and there's a beach that's down the street from me, but unless you know it's there, you don't know about it because you have to kind of walk through this small forest of bamboo trees, and the beach is located at the back of people's properties, but it's not considered their property. So a lot of people think that you can't go onto this beach.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's a sewer there, and it's kind of an opening to it before, and it was, so the opening would be at the right of this, and I kind of shimmied my way in, and luckily it was winter and there was no water or growth or animals or anything, but it was fun to shoot this because it was kind of spooky. And when I saw this photo, it kind of looked like somebody was trying to escape and one of their garments got caught on the ladder while they were going up. So I just really enjoy this picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. It's very compelling. So you actually decided to kind of, you said, shimmy your way into the sewer and kind of check it out. And then,
Yeah, I mean, the sewer doesn't start until after the ladder, so I wasn't actually inside of that, but
right, right,
it was kind of a little room beforehand.
right, right. Yeah. This really definitely tells a visual story.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I like it a lot.
Hmm. And tell us, what was your decision-making process, Kimberly, into kind of turning it more into, desaturated, kind of more black and white? What was the thought process with you with that?
I guess I was just playing around with it, and when I got to this and how the image looked without the color, I think that it just captured the feeling of the photo more than it would have if it was in color or if the sun was shining in. It just gives it a spookier feel.
Yeah, yeah. And I love all the texture in it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Mhm,
I like when things like this look a little grimier.
mhm. So this is kind of going back to what you said just a few moments ago, Kimberly, with kind of bringing beauty into what might not be classically considered beautiful.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. All right. Okay, let's look at a couple more.
Okay.
All right.
So now people are going to think that I have a thing for sewers, but it's just something that's available, I guess. So this is also down the street from me. There's another shoreline that I can get to in a different area. And I had just been walking again on the trail, and I didn't even realize that these sewer tunnels were there. There's like just a bunch of them. I'm not really sure why they're there, but they all looked really cool in the snow, and there's a bunch of graffiti on the insides of them. So I decided to take a bunch of pictures of them. I have a whole series of these sewers that were in that area,
Mhm.
but this is a fun thing to shoot also.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the composition and the movement. I think this is really, such a great shot.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to get it so that it was kind of honing in on the other side as well as the inside of it. So
Mhm. And it's so interesting because obviously, it's winter time. We have the snow and you see the trees, more twig-like and everything. And then you have all the color inside the sewer. It's really an interesting kind of juxtaposition.
yes, I like that as well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Mhm. So when you're walking around, you don't, and correct me, let me know it, you don't seem to like to change the environment so much. You like to see what is there and then photograph it as, okay, this is what it is. And then you kind of bring yourself to it and take the photograph.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like things in their natural habitat, and like I said, I'll stand at a different angle, or I'll crouch down or lie down on the floor and see if a different shape might come out of what it originally looked like. Like I've taken pictures of trees that have fallen down, so the tree stumps are still there and there's still a little bit of growth, and they'll look like a woman standing there or
Mhm.
something like that. So yeah, I like to leave things the way that they are.
Mhm. And do you think that there's a certain message that's coming through, in addition to what we said, kind of a beauty with a different twist, but is there like a sort of a message within a message, like when someone looks at this or the other art pieces that you photographed, is there something that you want the viewer to see? You want them to feel a certain way or see what you saw, or how does that play out for you?
I guess, yeah, like I just want people to realize that there is beauty everywhere, and you don't necessarily have to go looking for it. And even if there's something grotesque in a place where you wouldn't expect it, that doesn't mean that it takes away from the beauty that is there. It
Mhm.
might add to it or just make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, as well said. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kimberly.
Thank you.
All right. So we have one more to look at. You ready to go to that one?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
This is one of my favorites as well. Another area that I love to take photographs of is graveyards. Um, I just find them to be really peaceful and beautiful, and there's so much history, especially at this cemetery. This is Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx, and it was founded in, I believe, 1863. It's one of the largest graveyards, and it's known because a lot of famous people have been buried there. But there's these beautiful mausoleums, and I find those to be so interesting. So I was able to go directly up to a lot of the doors, and I just kind of got lucky with this one because the light was shining in through the other side, and the way that it did have like a metal cross across the window. If you look closely, that's why there's the darkness across.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to angle my camera so that you can't really see it. But this is definitely one of my favorite photos that I've taken recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very interesting. So nothing seems to be off limits for you.
Pretty much. I have recently said that sometimes I get really excited when I'm photographing, and I sometimes might go into places that maybe I shouldn't be, or it might be a little dangerous for me to be there. But I just get really excited, and I know that it could turn out to be really great. So I just go for it.
Mhm. Could you share one or two of those places that you kind of went into because you got kind of, I guess, that adrenaline rush going that you were like, yeah, well, I think I want to photograph this place?
Yeah, I was out for a run around here and I noticed that there was kind of not a garage, but like a shed on someone's property and it looked kind of abandoned. So I trekked my way through someone's yard and got there and it was pretty interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure that it still belongs to somebody and that it was on their property, but they had old books and that was pretty cool for me because I think that one of them might have been a Nancy Drew book and those were my favorite as a kid.
Hmm.
And it was just a fun little adventure for myself.
Mhm. So when
So
Kimberly has a camera in hand, she's fearless.
yeah, a little more brave than I am without it.
Mhm. All right. Yeah, another compelling photograph, Kimberly. Anything that you'd like to share about this before we stop the screen share? Just want to make sure you get in everything you'd like to share.
Um, no, I think that that's it. I mean, I do have more photos of this available to look at if anybody wants to see it. I can share my Instagram account. It's shot by Kimberly Roma. There's a whole series of photos from this day at the graveyard, which I think are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the cemetery, as you said, is a place where you feel like it's very peaceful and, in a way, you're kind of honoring the people that are there, that have been buried there, and you see their names and when they were born and the years and
Mhm.
the different, you see that, the stained glass and whatnot. Do you feel like it's also in a way a memorial to them?
I hope so. When I started doing it, I felt a little strange because I didn't want anybody to think that I was being disrespectful, but I definitely honor those people. And I think that what their families have done for them are beautiful. So I'm hoping that that's what I'm showing.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share. So that was great, getting a good feel of what your eye is interested in and what you're interested in photographing. Tell us when you are out walking and you're photographing. Now, do you like to be by yourself? Do you go with somebody else? Are there photographers? What kind of sets it off for you to be kind of in that creative zone?
I mostly go out by myself. I have a list of places that I'd love to go that I've made over the past year when I couldn't really get around because I didn't really want to get on a train during the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I'm slowly going through that, but I'm also working, so that's making it more difficult. But um, I also like right now I'm working as a nanny. So I take the two girls that I work with to different places. And while I'm out with them, I mean, I won't have my big camera, but I'll have my phone and they know that I love taking photos. So they're pretty good about it. And they'll tell each other to wait. Kim is taking photos. And so, I mean, when it strikes me, it strikes me. But if I have a plan to go out with my camera, I mostly like to go by myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have areas that you mentioned you kind of have written down that you kind of like, okay, I'd like to go to those places. And then you just kind of stay open, you're just going to see it from different perspectives. And you don't mind crouching down, getting on your stomach, on your side, just to kind of see it in different ways.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your editing process? So now once you've completed one of your photographic walks and now you're going to come in and sit down in front of the computer and start your editing, how does that unfold for you?
Um, well, I use Photoshop Lightroom And I just kind of go in and I like using it because you can make different versions. So I always save the original and then I just play around with it. I mean, lately I've been playing around more with making things black and white that normally would be in color, like the water or more green and blue scenes that I just like to see how they look in black and white. And then I just play around with the color and the textures. I love playing with textures, like the one from inside that sewer, how you said that you could see all the textures. Because certain things I like having it look a little dirtier and grimier.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Kind of like play up the feel of the texture.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm. So it's a lot of experimentation and just kind of staying open is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I could edit for hours on end if I had the time. But I'm also trying to not edit as much so that I keep the integrity of the photo.
Hmm. Kind of striking that balance.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in the beginning, Kimberly, you said when you decided that you wanted to pursue photography full time, you said that you received a lot of support from family and friends.
I did. I was very nervous because it's kind of a field where you don't have that security of always having health benefits and getting paid all the time. And at the time, in the beginning of 2020, I was going back to school for my second master's in education, but I realized that it really wasn't for me. And I just decided not to pursue it anymore. And I decided to go into photography. And I was really nervous to tell my family. And they were all so excited for me and basically said, "Thank God, we've been telling you for years that you should be doing something like this." So it was such a relief and I was pleasantly surprised and I'm very thankful that I had that support because I'm very close with my family. So it was really great to have that.
Yeah, what a wonderful blessing how supportive and encouraging they are. And they were actually like, hey, what took you so long?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know what I'm wondering, Kimberly, is with your undergraduate and graduate degree, what does that bring to your photography? Like, because you have this education in these other areas. So does that intertwine with your photography? And if so, could you share that with us?
I would think so. So library science is a pretty vast field and there's a lot of different areas that you could go into. So I personally wanted to get into archives and I love history and I guess I try to incorporate that into my photos. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I like taking photographs at graveyards. I love old architecture. That's why I love going into the city and taking pictures of buildings and places that have been around for hundreds of years. So it definitely impacts me still.
Right, right. Now, so you also like to go into the city and you like to also kind of, as you said, the interesting architecture. So have you started to do some street photography in addition to the landscape?
Yes, I'm definitely trying to get into that. I also just signed up for a photojournalism course online through the New York Institute of Photography because that's another area that I find to be very interesting. So I'm expanding a little bit
Right.
more.
Yeah. So you have like your hands kind of in a lot of different areas.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us the difference, like when you're, in your hometown and it's very scenic and it's like almost kind of suburban feel to it. Now, then you're in the city, it's quite different. So how do you acclimate between the two? Now you're around a bunch of people and there's like a lot of buildings. I mean, there's the beautiful architecture, but the environment is vastly different. So Does that make a difference to you? Do you just kind of acclimate right away? It's, a bit of a contrast.
Yeah, it is. I feel like when I was younger, if I was ever taking photos in the city, I would be a little bit more self-conscious and notice more that people are around. And as I said, now I'm a little bit braver with my camera. So I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable with that. And the last time I went into the city was a while ago. It was probably in May. Um, and it was great because I went to Central Park and I went to Bethesda Terrace, and there was another photographer there, and he actually like reached out to me and was like, hey, if you go to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens today, it's free. So it was nice like to see a fellow photographer and make connections like that. So I'm trying to be a little bit more comfortable with the fact that there are going to be people everywhere. And I've just been reading a lot more about it and how to approach people in that way. And I did actually approach a girl because she was painting something on the street, and I asked her if I could take her photos, and she was totally fine with it. Well, I feel like most people are, especially in New York City. It's kind of par for the course.
Right. Yeah. But yet you extend that kind protocol just to kind of, you know,
Oh yeah.
offer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so you're expanding into the street photography and some kind of combining portraiture and street photography as well. Is there any other areas that you're currently photographing or that you want to also expand into that are kind of on your mind?
Um, Not currently. I just go around and see what I like, and I just go for it pretty much at this point. And I'm hoping to be able to make more trips into the city and get more kinds of those photos. So I'm excited about that.
hmm Once things are, I guess, fully open, I guess all across the board, any plans for like traveling?
Oh, definitely. I am planning on going to Ireland and France next summer.
Hmm.
So I've never been over there, so I'm very excited to do that and to get more travel photos.
Well, that would be very exciting. Yeah, I have to tell you, I completely admire and honor your leap of faith, into moving into this field. And, as you said, you had, naturally, as we all would, doing something like this, some fears came up. You have the blessing and support of your family, which is awesome. But yet you were the one who, took the initiative and has made the first steps into that. And I have to really commend that. That's really awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we still have a few minutes left. Is there anything about your photography that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to share, Kimberly?
Um, I don't know. I don't think so. Just that I'm very excited. I was so excited when you reached out to me. Because things are a little slow going at first, but I just know that I have to keep going and keep trying and get more photos out there so that more people see them.
hmm Right. Well, it seems like you have a great plan, so to speak. And in terms of you're doing everything that you possibly can. I went on your website and you have some beautiful images that are for sale. I think you did a great job with your website. You created that yourself. You've already made the plunge. You're out there doing the photography and doing what marketing that you can and just keeping it going. The class that you said you were going to take, kind of combining the photojournalism. So you're really looking at it from multiple angles and giving it all that you have.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. It's nice. it's nice to be appreciated like that.
I'm just wondering, any interest in any self-portraits, anything interesting, to kind of get into your own kind of like space,
Um,
photographically speaking?
yes, I actually, that was what pretty much prompted me into this. I had never done it before, but being home every day, all day long, it was something to do. So I've done a few self-portrait projects, which was a lot of fun. I thought it would be, I don't know, strange to turn the camera on myself, but I just played around with it and had a good time with it. So yeah, I enjoyed doing it.
Mhm. From where you're at already, with all the different, areas you're kind of, invested in, and you're all your different like photographic projects and interests. What have you learned about yourself thus far that you could share with us?
I guess that it's okay to put yourself out there and it's okay to say, look at what I can do. I am talented and I can do this. And I feel like for a lot of people, especially women, you're not supposed to boast and you're supposed to kind of sit back, and it's a little scary at first, but I know that I'm capable of more than I thought I was
Mm.
doing this, and I'm much braver than I thought I was. So it's been great to find those things out about myself.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Kimberly. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, so we do need to close the show out. We would like to leave you with the closing comments, however you'd like to kind of wrap things up, and let us know how we can stay connected with you.
Okay, sure. Thank you for having me here and letting me speak about my work. And thank you for, I don't know, your support. And I hope that people liked learning more about me. And if you would like to visit my website, it's www.kimberlyroma.com. My Etsy shop is Roma Photography Shop, and my Instagram is Shop by Kimberly Roma. And I also have Facebook where it's Kimberly Roma Photography.
Mhm. All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for being our guest today on Art and Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your beautiful messages and sharing your beautiful photography, and your interesting perspective on things, and what kind of drives you. And we wish you the sky the limit with your photography, and stay connected with us and let us know about new developments that come up, and wish you much success, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks again. Thank you everyone for watching Art and Talk today. We appreciate the time you take to watch our videos, and please stay connected with us on social media, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We appreciate your support, and we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.